but does not compare to this porcelain-bodied one, which has the iron luster glaze, so it looks kind of like calamari in my opinion, but it has an Ouroboros motif on it. Came out in G. Very unusual look if you like things that kind of look like flesh, which personally I find it appealing, but some of you aren't into the odd things that I am. So here we go. So it's a little tricky. For some reason, the last note in the scale came out a little flat. I remember it tuning correctly, but for some reason when it fired it didn't. But this one plays pretty solid throughout the range, so if you can figure out how to avoid that problem, there you go. And lastly, we have the tenors. I made this one last semester, my first attempt at a large body one. Sounds god-awful, kind of ugly, very rough, bumpy look to it. Personally, I don't like it. I'm going to sell this one for pretty cheap. Don't remember what key it's in because the luster's smudged, but I'm not even going to bother to play it for you because it takes so much air pressure, but screw it, oh well. So, if you have large lungs, this one's for you. It's a massive body. Hopefully I'll be able to figure out how to tame the beast later, but so much for that. It's a first attempt. Everyone has to start somewhere. These ones are a lot better sounding and better looking. These are the actual tenors. This one came out in A. And to show you how variable this glaze is actually the ancient jasper as well. You can see some subtle coloration changes by the mouthpiece there. So the camera really does not do this one justice. There's a lot of subtle color changes in here. Just the way that the glaze fires. A lot of transparencies, a lot of color shifts. Goes from deep purple to this kind of blue and a bit of red underneath it and some yellow in the incisings aside from the gold. But it's a white stoneware one, and from what I remember it sounds pretty good. This one actually has a sub hole right here. It's a little hard to get to unless you have really beefy fingers. But it was kind of the last minute decision when it was in the bone dry state because it was a half step lower than the other one I made. It was originally for a set for 2 people that I know that want them. But it turns out that it would have been the same pitch if I never cut that. So when it's in A, which is a fairly universal scale. And that shipped in an unfortunate accident when I was sick. So glued on with plumber's putty and then painted gold. And the next one's an indigo float, white stoneware as well, with a gold luster. So you can see it kind of looks like a leaf even though it says indigo for the glaze. Bit of a tubular mouthpiece. That's before I started trying some different things. But very nice shape, fits very comfortably in the hands. Fairly light. Sounds like so. So it dies out a bit. I don't know why. It's probably from the shape of the voicing. It's a little more geometric. Just experimenting with different things. But it's in G sharp or A flat. And very aesthetically pleasing. Not very practical to play if you want the full range of these things. But this one, from what I remember, plays pretty decently. It's a porcelain body one. Personally, I think it looks the best out of any of these I've made. Used 2 different glazes on this, which were the frosted turquoise and the ancient jasper, along with the gold luster. Came out in A flat. Unfortunately, there was a problem firing it. Something bumped the kiln, and it slid onto the kiln shelf, and this part stuck and did not come out with the rest of it. So, part of the mouthpiece is still in the kiln. Otherwise, this one came out very beautifully, almost flawless, except for that one chip. If it weren't for that, I would have sent this one to the competition in Korea that I'm entering. thanks to our art secretary back at school, who was encouraging me to enter this with these mainly as aesthetic pieces, not functional instruments, which I would like to get to professional levels before entering there. So I have a few weeks to do that. But it's porcelain body, tenor A flat. It sounds like so. This one takes a bit softer of breath on the upper one, sort of like that one soprano. So it's a bit touchy, but once you get used to it, it plays beautifully. Personally, it's my favorite one. There's a lot of texture within the black areas. I got the inspiration from a bird I saw in Spain called the hoopoe, which has been one of my favorites for years now, ever since one of my DeviantArt friends showed me a picture of one. They're a very peculiar looking bird, but they're really interesting at the same time. You kind of have this big crest, and this is what the wings look like. So they have this black and white pattern that I chose to change the colors a bit to better suit the glazes and artistic license, so on and so forth. But I'll be making one like this again soon without that chip, which surprisingly does not impede that much on playing. It's just for this competition I want them to be flawless. So I'll be making a set of the tenors, altos, and sopranos for it, and be aiming to get the sound as perfect as possible. But here you have it. That's my set of ocarinas, and it's a little something special. I have some whistles that I made in the style of deep sea anglerfish. So this one's the female, as you can tell from the lure and the big sharp teeth. She was originally supposed to be a death whistle with a horrific shriek to it, but that was my first attempt. So it sounds a little more like this. So it's kind of a haunting, empty sound to it, which is probably what you expect something like this to make, except for the horrific shriek that its victims would make. Then I have the male, which is finished in the same kind of stains. So he's smaller and produces a bit more of a hissing sound. My second attempt at these, so I didn't get the death whistles perfect exactly, but you can tell pretty close. Not exactly precision made, but nonetheless he makes a noise. So, if you want to give people the creeps, then these things are definitely on the menu for you. Alright, there we are. There you go, that's all we have for you. And hope you enjoyed the new batch of instruments that I made. That's all for now. Until the next batch, goodbye.